We know a dial caliper will read down to 1/1000th of an inch, but it takes a little bit of practice to get consistent with those measurements. The first thing we do when we pick one up is we want to check zero. So I like to wipe the inside faces of the caliper to make sure there's no dust or sand or any grit that could give me a false measurement. And then I close it. Now, if it's calibrated correctly, our pointer will read exactly 0 on the dial. Now mine is actually off a little bit, so I'm going to check it again a few times and see if I'm getting the same measurement. Alright, so I'm actually off here a little bit. So I can adjust 0 by loosening this small little screw very, very gently and turn the dial until my pointer is exactly at 0. Tighten it back up, and please don't over tighten it. Just snug is all we're looking for. Now I'm at 0 every time my jaws are touching. This is now calibrated and will give you accurate measurements. When I'm handling the tool, I generally want to hold it like this. This is the thumb wheel, and it's designed to give you a lot of control over your measurements. And it does just that. You can go quickly to open the jaws, and you can go very slowly and precisely to get very accurate measurements. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when we're measuring, we are not trying to clamp our piece. We are trying to get a tight but very gentle grip on the material. I'll try and demonstrate that with this block here. So we have this aluminum block, and I want to measure the thickness of it. So I'm going to put my jaws on either side, and like I said, I'm not trying to clamp it. If I can hold this with the jaws, my measurement is too tight. I should be able to slide back and forth. That is probably the perfect tightness for a measurement. And while you're still getting practiced at this, you should take the measurement several times and make sure it is the same. Because we do have to learn what right feels like. Now if we look, my reference edge is reading past 7 but not to 8. My dial is reading between 51 and 52. So if I were to put that on paper, I would call that 700, and well, now I'm reading 50, so there's a little variation in the material. 700, and now I'm at 49 thousandths. Let's see what that looks like. 749 thousandths. So I am less than 1 inch. So on the right side of my decimal, it's going to be 0. 0.700 and 49 thousandths. I actually moved it a couple thousandths when I took it off, which is extremely common. But just for our sake, I'm going to put it back at 49. 749 thousandths. In the manufacturing world, we only want to speak in thousands. We do not want to get into the pitfall of saying 7/10ths, 400ths, and 9 thousandths. We simply say 749 thousandths. Now if I were to do this measurement again and say I'm going to measure the outside of the longer piece, get the length of this, let's see what I'm getting here. Well, I'm past 1 inch on the blade, and then I am past 8 but not till 9. So I know my number is going to be 8. Now how far past 8 we have to read the dial for. I'm getting 55 thousandths exactly. So the measurement of this object is 1 inch, 855 thousandths. Now let's write that so we're both on the same page. 1 inch, 855 thousandths. That's how I would say that. 1 inch, 855 thousandths. For a good measure, it's good to know we're all using the same scale of inches. But anytime we're using an imperial caliper, we should already know that we're in inches. Go ahead and practice that on your own, and then we can go to some of the advanced features of the caliper.